everyone. We are so glad to have you join us today. And this conversation is brought to you by Atulith Academy, founded by a dedicated learning designer and corporate trainer, Radhika Kautha. Her work focuses on equipping people with the real world skills they need to handle everyday challenges and growth with absolute ease. At the heart of her mission and everything we do are three core pillars: clarity, confidence, and ownership. And to ensure we have a smooth conversation, please keep a few quick housekeeping points in mind. Please keep your microphones muted, and we invite you to ask your questions and use the chat box freely. Make sure to stay with us until the very end. So, today's bold conversation. We live together, we don't talk. Today's conversation is not about broken families, it's about silent families. Families that function perfectly on the outside but emotionally haven't spoken in months. We discuss groceries, we discuss bills, we discuss fees and plans, but when was the last time someone at home asked you, "Are you really okay?" Tonight is not about blaming parents, children, spouses, or work. It's about noticing what modern life is quietly doing to relationships. And maybe before this session ends, someone here may decide to restart one real conversation at home. Now, I would like to introduce Mrs. Sheila Shetty. She is a dynamic language and communication trainer who helps professionals master effective communication, build strong relationships, and boost their career prospects. With engaging workshops and personalized coaching, she empowers individuals to speak with confidence and achieve their goals. So, with that, I would like to hand it over to you, ma'am. Please take over.
Thank you, Insia. And good evening, everyone, once again. And yeah, so we would appreciate if all of you can indulge in this conversation. And can we move on to the next slide, Insia? And I'll just take you people through the agenda for today before we continue the conversation. So we talk daily, but about nothing. So this would be the first thing that we would discuss. Why emotional distance happens. We'll touch upon that. What families secretly miss. The 20-minute family reset, where we will also discuss about the tools. And if you have any inputs from your end that you have some good practices, do share it with all of us. And one conversation can change everything. So this would be today's agenda of our conversation. So let's have the first topic, which is we talk daily, but about nothing. Most families today are not disconnected physically, they are disconnected emotionally. Everyone is present, but nobody is fully available. Do you all agree? If you do, please give me a thumbs up. Use the chat generously, and thank you. Thank you. So, this digital closeness, emotional distance, let's talk about a scenario where imagine a silent dinner table. If you have experienced, you can also share it. Get a picture of a family of four sitting together during dinner. Father is scrolling news, Mother is watching recipe reels, son is gaming, and daughter has got a headset on, okay, and also texting friends. Everybody is together, nobody is together. So, do you resonate with any instance like this that you would like to share? Or if you have experienced something like this yourself happening at your place with more people, here we have just four of them. Anything that you resonate with this? Thank you, Sujata. It happens mostly. Okay, fine. Let's move on. So, yes, Radhika.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly I find that, how do I put it? I find it that parents are a little bit not linked with the children anymore, especially with the teenagers. Like you said, one thing which immediately comes to mind, I'll tell you of an incident. Recently, I was out somewhere out in the nature, and there was this boat ride deep in the forest, and there is this child in the boat who is watching serials, and somehow I was watching her the entire time, and it was like the parents couldn't peel her away from that. And what, she must be in grade 4 or grade 5. I'm not even talking about somebody who's a
Teenage.
teenager. So
Right.
my question is, like, this is something which needs to be addressed. Like, the entire reason why we are there over here is to ensure that communication is free flow. I mean, it's a free flow communication in the family, correct? So, what is making this as it is? Why are parents not being able to peel the children away from, say, let's take this particular incident itself. Why are they not being able to peel them off from whatever, or may put them some sense into them? So, anybody with your uh, intakes would be lovely.
Anybody? Yes, Amita.
So my take on this is basically it is the parents who have gotten the children into the habit of having a gadget in their hand, because once the child has a gadget in their hand or he's watching some video or film, the child eats, otherwise the child is very fussy. So it is right from a very small age that we are reinforcing that it is, we need to have something in our hand, something in front of our eyes to be able to function, do the other functions properly.
Very true, very true. This is a scene that is so commonly visible everywhere, where parents are giving them either a gadget or maybe a rhyme. And I mean, it happens even with our own relatives, the current generation, where the parents are like the young parents. Like, I have my niece who has a 3-year old, and she has given him a tab to look at the rhymes or even a story to have the meal. Like, so does anyone else want to add something to what Radhika had to say? Yes, Pushpa.
Hi Sheila. So I just
Hi.
want to add one thing. It's not just with the kids. Even we have got so much used to this.
You're
Even
not
the
audible. Your
uh,
voice is not too audible, Pushpa. If you can come close to the mic. You're on mute if you're speaking.
am I audible?
Yes, this is better.
So I just want to add to it that it's not just with the kids. Even we as adults are so much used to the screen time that even something in our hand, a gadget, or either a TV on, where no, even doing any activity, we need to have that thing in our hand and keep scrolling or we keep watching the screen, and that is what the younger ones uh, do it. So they
They
just
enact the
yeah,
same, they
they act
copy
the same.
us.
Yes, yes, they are just our replicas.
Right, right. So we need to set an example. Totally agree with you. Yes, Sujata, you want to add something to this?
Uh, yes, I also have seen the same situation, Sheila. Like you talked about your niece, I can talk about my two, three nephews. All are doing the same, that video games, and always, they have got the tendency to have mobile in their hands. So yes, as the Puspa also tell, in some way we are as parents responsible. It's really, a question of sincerity that we have to think.
We need to transform or change our
Something
habits
has to
so
be done. It's
we can
getting
set an example.
getting too much in
Right.
families.
Yeah. Yes, Pushpa.
It was earlier that I used.
I
Okay.
think
Okay.
Radhika has again raised her hand.
Yes, Radhika.
So, here I would like to advocate for the parents. Uh, we are working parents, okay, especially the next generation. You have two very busy working parents, and they need some kind of, they're so busy that they want the child to be engaged. Correct? So,
Right.
it is very easy for all of us to say that the parenting should be better, there should be less screen time, and everything should be done. So if there is no screen time, okay, what else can the parents do without they not getting involved? If you're getting the point, like if you're asking them to give them a drawing book and asking the children to draw, again the parent needs to be there. Okay, the child
Right.
is not silent, they're constantly asking. You ask them to read a book, maybe that might work out for a while. So any inputs
Hmm.
on this from the people here?
Anybody would like to add to this or give something that you practice or you have in your mind? Like from what you asked, Radhika, there is something that um, I would do when I was working is first thing is to tell the child that the phone is in your hand because you're working and the work happens with the phone, and make them understand that I need to hold the phone, but yes, I am with you and you can do something and I will contribute. If you are doing some coloring or you're painting, you can start doing, and then I will be there to add to it. So that kind of gives a confidence to the child to continue with what they're doing. But yes, it also depends on the kind of pressure that one is going. Like if I have something very serious going on with work on the phone, and I need to come back to my normal self and speak to the child, which is a big transformation that has to happen within few minutes. So this is something that I have tried, but not been, I wouldn't say 100% successful, but to a certain point. Or I would explain later that this is why I had to, you know, cut off. And yes, to a certain extent, my child has understood. Does anyone else have something to add to this? Amita, Pushpa, Freda, Divya, Sujata? Yes, Amita.
So actually, these days, if you see, parents are actually quite occupied with work. So, managing home and managing work, because the women today are working full time, they have big commitments at workplace. So, managing home, managing work, managing the child becomes quite a struggle actually. And
Mhm.
uh, it becomes difficult for the parent to be able to take out so much time to give to the child, so that the child can be doing variety of other activities and not getting hooked on to a gadget, or watching some videos and things. So uh, so if so it is a challenge today. So finding a
Definitely.
solution around, how to go around and do it, at least balancing it out, is something that the parents have to figure out.
Yeah, being emotionally balanced is the prior thing, because only when we can keep our emotions in control, then we can try to help them, first of all, understand with our tone, right? And then get them to do something. Again, we'll have to think. So it's best, sometime what I do is I just write it down. What is it that we can tell them? Because if you say coloring, or if you say maybe painting, they'll say, oh, I just did it a couple of hours ago, so you don't expect me to do the same thing, or even reading for that matter. So we have to be emotionally balanced and also get creative to help them get busy. So it definitely is a challenge. And a blessing for me is I work from home, so I can still kind of take a break and then, okay, pause and then give them something and then get back. But sometimes, yes, it is a challenge, definitely. So, does anyone else have anything else to add to this discussion? Yes, Sujata.
Yeah, so I just remember. Yeah, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, 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 you are.
Okay. So what happened? For 10 days, my nephew stayed with me. Like I'm staying with my husband only. My both the daughters are outside doing job and all. So I'm not living those moments nowadays. But when he came and he's so active, so it was a big challenge for me how to make him engaged. So I just wrote, few things like for 1 hour you have to do this, for next hour you have to play, for this next hour you have to do drawing, storytelling. I had to do this, but this worked. This worked.
Great,
Whenever I did
great.
that, this
Nice.
worked. Because
Awesome.
and in that I added that yes, 1 hour is for screen time as well. So if someone
Lovely.
is like that, if they can do, and what I want to say that if they have been taught the disciplined life, okay, okay, this 1 hour you have to do,
Planning.
man. So I think that this is to be needed. If there is no alternative, I for personally I don't see this discipline needs to be inculcated in a child. That this is my playing time for 2 hours. This is my screen time. This is my story writing or something, creativity, music, dance. So many things are there which can keep them at least away from the screen.
Right.
We need to
And
explore.
right. And
Yeah,
a constant encouraging words make them like
actually,
they've done something remarkable. So that
very
is something
important.
that they always look for.
Very
So
important to tell them you are doing such a great job. You are managing the place.
yes.
You are doing different sort of activities like that. We can push them.
True, true. So planning is very important, you say, which is true. Helping them how to plan what they want to do. They may have a list of things that they want to do. So how can they execute that is something that we can help them with. Nice. That's a nice one. Good. Okay. So then we move on. We will so it's nice to know that we are still connected. It's not like the Wi-Fi signal is strong from what we had on our screen. The emotional signal is weak. That doesn't work with us. That's good to know that we have a lot of us who are still emotionally strong too. So let's move on. I have something that I want to ask all of you. Okay. So being available physically is not the same as being emotionally present. Okay. So when I heard all of you say what you practice or what we can do, says that we are physically and emotionally present. So you're not just physically there and you're busy with something, you're also emotionally there, which is lovely. So now think about yesterday, not too long. How many minutes of real conversation happened at home without instruction, argument, or logic? Type only a number in the chat box. It can be 0, it can be 5, it can be 2, or even 1. But we would like to hear from all our audience. What is it that one real conversation, if it happened, what was it? If was it one? You don't even have to name it. You can just tell us the number in the chat box. Anybody? Take
Numbers
2 minutes.
means minutes,
Like
minutes
you
or
had a
half.
real conversation with probably your daughter or maybe with your child. Okay, Insia says 3. Like you sat and explained to them and they understood. Okay, 2. Sujata, thank you. Anyone else? Amita, 2. Divya, 2. Okay, great. Okay. That's nice, Pushpa. Wow, 8. Radhika was on a vacation, so I'm sure her number will be high. Okay, great. That's great. Thank you for the responses, guys. So we move on now to the uh, next discussion, that is why this happens. Cynthia, can we just have the screen on, please? The slide. Great. So emotional distance rarely happens intentionally. Do you all agree? It is not intentional. It's very rare. I would say it's very rare. What do you all think? So great. All of you kind of have given a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So, Intia, can we proceed? Can we have the first point? So, all of you all said we are mentally exhausted, right? So, we return back from home if we have gone out to work or if we are working. We return home physically present, but mentally still we are carrying office stress, deadlines, and maybe if you're driving or you came through a public transport, was a traffic or some pressure, or there are a lot of expectations when you come back home. So I have a story related to this. So what happens when you come mentally exhausted home and you are physically present but mentally still carrying all these things in your head? So there is a father who comes home after work, and the child is so happy to see that the father's come home, and he comes running and he says, Papa, listen, what happened today, And father has so many things on his head. He doesn't mean to be very curt, but he says something like, Please, not now. I'm tired. Has anyone done something like this, or have you seen something happen like this? Okay, thank you. Thank you for those responses. So, what happens when something like this happens? So, suddenly the child is coming with so much of emotion and excitement, carrying so much of information to share, and you just shut a bottle tight. What happens? It just sits there. So, the child quietly walks away after this. The father forgets the moment in 10 minutes because he has so much. The child remembers this, it can remain for almost 10 years. I went to my dad to say something very nice that I had achieved, and he just cut me off. It happens. And how it sits in the child's mind, it's sitting in the subconscious mind for almost 10 years. So I'll have to wait for an opportunity, and waiting for this opportunity can be for eternity. Does anyone have your personal experience that you would like to share related to this? Okay. So
Yes,
there's some,
Sheila, I could
yes, yes,
probably. So,
yes, yes.
with regards to my experience on this, it has happened with me itself growing up as a child. I've had a couple of instances where I try to approach my mom or my dad, and and somehow that's the response that would come in, like, not right now. I'm busy. And my mom
Hmm.
was a teacher, so she used to, what do you say, have corrections during
Corrections.
exams and stuff. So she was, of course, loaded, but that response initially would come off so abrupt. But then, yes, she would try to make time eventually when she realized what had happened. But yes, I mean, that's something that has happened with both of my parents.
That moment has just gone.
Yeah.
Yes, so relatable. I had a classmate when I was in high school, and her mom was a government school teacher, and she was head of a department. And she would come to school so irritated, and she would tell, listen, my mom, she has no time for me, you know. So that moment you need them. I mean, I'm sure our children are like, at least now they come at least at my place, and I have seen a lot of so nice. Thanks for that experience, Freda.
You're
So
welcome.
there are times when we also have the phone that becomes an escape. Insia, can we have the next one? So scrolling, it becomes easy. It's like, scroll and not have to talk. You don't have to have any uncomfortable conversation. It becomes so easy, right? Scrolling. So there is one funny story over here where a husband and a wife, a newlywed couple or fairly newlywed couple, are sitting together in the same room, and this husband, he's sending her reels and memes, and they are sharing emojis and funny videos, and it's just happening on the phone, on each other's phone, and they are not talking, they're sitting together. But so this continues for a couple of days, and what happens one night, there's an argument that happens, which happens with everyone. So it happened with them. And what happened? The wife suddenly said this statement. She said, you know what video I like, but you don't know what's hurting me. So does it kind of resonate, or have you seen? It may sound like a melodrama or maybe a movie or maybe very cinematic, but yes, it happens, right? Whatever happens in our life is what is shown on the screen. So it's like we haven't had a meaningful conversation in weeks, but yes, we know what memes to send, what reels to send. So we are communicating constantly, but connecting rarely. So do you all agree? Yes. Yes, Radhika.
Yeah. When it comes, I mean, just now, whatever you said, um, somehow I feel this is a generational thing. It differs generation to generation. I mean, this is my point of view. Like,
Totally.
if you take the Gen X, couples were not that over friendly with each other. I mean, they were never, I noticed that somehow they don't openly talk about their feelings to each other. They will talk about everything under the sun, but they will not talk about their feelings openly. But then if you come to the next generation, okay, if you come to the what you call millennials, okay, it kind of became a little better. And then the emotional dependency, I see a far lot, I mean, um, I see it a lot in the generation which is there right now. But then having said that, I personally feel that the next generation which is coming up will be so emotional that everything is going to go down the drain. Yeah, that's my.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to add something to this? Any experience? Or I have something else that I would like to share. Okay. So, okay. Yeah. Let's go to the next point, Insia, then. So, silence looks like peace, but silence can also mean emotional distance. Many families proudly say, okay, they just assume, families just assume silence is mistaken for peace. But we don't fight. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence means I stopped explaining myself. Nobody listens anymore. It's easier to stay quiet. I don't feel understood here. So, to conclude this discussion, I would say that related to emotional distance, the Wi-Fi signal is strong, the emotional signal is weak, is what I would like to say. What do you all say? Does anyone else have anything? Because nobody wants to argue after a long day, or they feel like, I'll just scroll and just keep quiet. I don't want to explain myself. I'm happy the way I am. This is the kind of feeling most of us feel. Do you all resonate with what I'm trying to say? If yes, you have something to add. Yes, Freda. Thanks. Thank you, Sujata. So now I would like to ask one question again. Okay. So if you had a meaningful conversation at home recently, not planned, not planning, it's not about asking, discussing problem solving, or even real emotional conversation that you had. Okay, who was it with? How long ago was it? Who usually starts emotional conversation at home? Do you remember any meaningful conversation you had at home recently, or a real conversation? Would you like to share? I know it's uncomfortable, but yes, Sujata.
Yes, I can share my experience. As I
Great.
told my both the daughters, they are outside. So we have one WhatsApp group where we all four are there. Uh, my husband and I and my both the daughters are there. So right now, some interior work is going on in my new flat. So we have to, search the designs. We have to fix the design. So regarding that, nowadays we are having good conversations, and we are giving time to each other because it's important also. But that gives me a good feeling, better feeling. Sometimes I used to think that they are so far away from me. Still, I am not able to give proper time for a good conversation. So yes, this is something which, and whenever we have that, we just feel more alive, more happier, and it likes like more connected. That they are away, but still we are joined. So this feeling is something really very important. This shouldn't go away. Now, how we can manage it's we have to think like how
Yeah.
quality time to each other. So this is something which we should not at all avoid, because these are, oh, Wilson, these are the life. This is something life we are living. If we don't do get engaged like this, then we are going to live a mechanical life, which we are have started living nowadays. So yeah.
Very true. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? Yeah, it's nice to have these kind of conversations with a very peaceful mind because that actually connects in a nice way. Yes, Radhika.
Yeah, so this is related not with children or anything, but because we're talking about family and silence, something which I realized and I put a stop to it. Uh, because, see, when we are running in our day to day lives, we feel we are doing everything right, but we tend to miss certain things,
Very true.
not intentionally. So I suddenly realized that at some point, not currently, but there was a point when dad used to call me up. My father used to call me up a number of times, and I was in some meeting or something or the other at work, and even when I would come back home, I would be so tired, and the children would, like, I call them my leeches in a very loving way. So they just, they just stuck to you the moment you come home. So, and then my dad always used to, I mean, in my mind, he always used to take a back step. Ha kar lenge, ha kar lenge. And then at a point, I just dropped in without notice. I mean, I just didn't tell him anything. I just dropped in. And then I suddenly found that both my parents had this huge family photo of mine on the dining table, and they were like having their lunch. And I'm like, what are we doing there? And they're like, we like looking at it. And it just hit me wham. I mean, in this entire thing, am I actually neglecting this front? I never realized it. So then, after that, I ensured that the moment I would come back from work, I wouldn't enter the house. I would stay outside, sit on the bench, call them up, speak to them for 10 minutes, and then I would lovingly go to my leeches. So this balanced the entire thing, and it was that 10-15 minutes that they really looked forward to
Very
after
true.
a point. So yeah,
Very
this is my experience. Thank you.
great. Thank you. Thank you, Radhika, for that. So true that, the small little moments where you connect instead of waiting for a crisis where there's an illness or, a breakdown or fights. That's not the time when you actually open up. It's better not to wait for that crisis. It's better to, connect before when things are not in the emergency mode. So let's not wait for families for emotional damage before becoming emotionally available. So that was great. So we move on to the next one. What families secretly miss? So, what do we actually miss is what we are going to move on to the next slide now. So before that, if emotional conversations disappear from family, what slowly disappears? What do you all think? Is it trust, comfort, closeness, openness, belonging,
Uh,
safety? What is it that? Yeah, yes.
Sheila, so what I think is a connection, the comfort level, because well, every relationship you try to connect with people, but when you don't receive the same reaction or the same response back over time, it's like like each one of us, irrespective child or adult, we all tend to have some bit of self-respect, or that kind of a thing, right? Like a self-respect or ego, how, like some people call it ego, some people call it self-respect. So everywhere, be it a child or be it an adult, when they make attempts and if it's not reacted or responded in the same way, people tend to withdraw. And once that withdrawal happens, there is no way you can reinstate that connection again. I mean, I've lived it and tried, but
Yeah,
I've kind of it's not working out. So yeah, unfortunately, but yes.
very true. Thank you, Prerna. So yes, the trust and the connect disappears. So what else? You start feeling uncomfortable, right? Comfort disappears. What else? What do you all think? You're so detached, right? So yeah. So, and when small sharing stops, big emotional distance begins. So, there is a major gap. It could be communication, it could also be bonding becomes difficult. It even becomes difficult to smile sometime when you see them after a long time. Look face to face. Does it happen with anybody? It has happened with me, and it's so uncomfortable, right? So, here people don't always need solution, they need emotional visibility. That is like how Freda just mentioned now. They just want to be heard. Okay, they're just waiting to be heard, they just want to talk. And when that happens, what happens? There's one story that I would like to talk about over here. There is this child who comes back from college, okay, and that particular day, this person comes home and is very quiet, okay, unusually quiet. So the mother notices, but she says nothing. So at night, just after dinner, she just says one sentence that changes everything. She says, "You don't seem like yourself lately. Want to talk?" She says. And suddenly, this girl, she jumps up and she opens up for almost 2 hours. So, has there been something like this that has happened with you?
I'd like to try that again.
Go on, Fred.
Seems like I seem to have a lot of these experiences. So,
Great, go on. We want that.
so the thing is, back like many years ago, when I mean, unexpectedly, my dad reacted a certain way, which of course I did not take it well. And I went completely silent because I was in shock. I was, like upset, lots of things. And then, although I'm very fond of my dad, and vice versa, he too, that reaction from him didn't kind of go well with me. And because of which I went super silent. And then it just so happened that my mom was passing by, and seeing me super silent is very unlikely, and generally also. So she, of course, asked me, and yes, I burst out in tears and I told what happened and everything. And then she kind of realized and then slowly and nicely sounded it off to my dad, which, of course, he eventually realized, and he came and he, sobered me up, like made me like calm
Comforted.
down. Yeah, comforted me and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with this because I used to have a lot of arguments with my dad because I was the youngest, and I always felt that I couldn't agree with certain things, and yes, and he wouldn't like it, and that would actually silence the whole conversation. And then yes, mom would intervene, and then there would be a lot of crying, and I would blame he did this and all that, and then there would be peace. Amita, you have something that you want to share, or Pushpa? Okay, fine. Let's move on. So, I'm sure all of you agree that many people are striving emotionally in home full of people, right? You all agree? So, if it is for parents, children stop sharing after feeling unheard. repeatedly. So just like this, um, the child comes home and the child says that, you know, my teacher shouted at me, and this parent, he says like, you must have done something. This is the normal thing that we do. And then the conversation closes there. And after enough experience like this, children stop trying to tell us anything. So there may have been situations that you may have also undergone. And for young adults, like, you know, this person who loses confidence after repeatedly failing interviews, and then this person, now that we have so much of social media and where you can post whatever you feel, your emotions are open. And so this person posts a sad story online but never tells his parents, but because he hates them, it's like he's tried to tell them and then they've never bothered, so he posts it on the in one of the stories. So, and this happens to such an extent where you forget how to actually tell your parents that, you know, this repeated failure that's happening, you forget how to even convey it to them. And when they don't know, they do something like this, posting a story, because emotionally he didn't know how to tell them, and he ended up posting it. And there was an elderly member, okay, this is a common scenario all of us might have experienced, that they repeat a same story again and again, and people around will say, haha, we know, and they just cut them off. Has this happened?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes. And then they say something like, after a couple of days, children or even the grandchildren, they may say, suddenly grandpa or grandma have become silent, they don't talk. Why? Because you haven't allowed them to open up. So this is almost like, sometimes silence is not age, it's emotional resignation. They just cut off. They say, fine, I'm done with it. I don't want to tell anything. So, is there something that you would like to say before we would share some tools that we can practice? Is there something that you people have, like they may be, yes, Sujata?
Well, I was just recalling few faces. You know, those faces used to tell the whole story of a child. Because a child becomes rude when he don't get attention from his parents. He becomes stubborn. You know, he always is lost in his own world. And yes, mobile is there with him, so he does unnecessary things in mobile, but that is just escaping from his own emotion, because he wants something else
Right.
and he's not getting. He wants time from his parents, love from his parents, but he's not able to get that. So I have seen so many faces like that. In our time it were less. When we were a child, we were in schools, it were less, but still I still remember one of my friends, her both parents were doctors, and I could see she was so much irritated all the time. She was very aggressive. Her behavior was so aggressive, nobody wanted to be friends with her. And
Right.
actually she needed friends. And
True. They
nowadays
wanted.
there are so many cases, we can see the children's faces. So I was just saying, assuming those, imagining those faces. It's there, so you are going to give the solution, so I'm waiting for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Is anyone else interested in sharing anything? Okay. So, what we can do to overcome all these is what we will see in our next slide, Insia. Yeah. So, we can make some small changes. Maybe even to start with, let us start small. If we are already into it, we can just do a 20-minute no phone rule. just to reset the family, we can do something like no TV if you are addicted to TV, no phone. Like all of us agreed that we as adults have to set an example if it is children whom we are concerned about. So if we can avoid like even keeping our phone, there are it is also considered that sometime I just saw some video or reel. They say that when you are holding a phone and you're just keeping it aside, you shouldn't keep it like this. They say keep it like this. So you say that you're not going to look at it for some time. Because when there is a pop-up or if there is a message, it just, the light gets on and if you have a setting like that, you'll know who has texted and immediately your mind starts, pulling yourself over there. So don't try to be too perfect, but if you can try for 5 minutes initially and then increase the time, I'm sure you will be able to achieve. So, no TV, no phone, no reels, no work calls. Or if you can avoid keeping the phone when you are having dinner on the table, it would be a great help. And instead, you can have conversations like what stressed you out today, what made you smile recently, what's been on your mind, what haven't you told anyone lately. So if you can have conversations like this, it can make a lot of difference. At least the person whom you are asking these questions will get that feeling that okay, somebody is concerned. More than leading to worry, if you can show that concern, then this word called worry may not come in picture. Because if you're concerned, the person is more comforted and they will actually kind of confide and they'll feel that comfort, like how Freda said that, you know, that phase has gone. Like, so we may want to have conversations like this where they will have these are some open-ended questions where they can open up. And probably you can start the conversation at a certain point. You can just tell them, okay, this is what I have and I'll get back to you. And it has worked personally even with me. When we explain to them why we are taking a call or even getting into a meeting and telling them what you are up to, they will actually wait. I think the generation now, the younger generation, they actually can understand what we are going through. This way, we can also help them be more emotionally intelligent, is what I would feel. What do you all think? You don't have to interrupt, you don't have to fix, don't even have to give advice. Just listen.
Honestly, yes, yes, Sheila. So when I mean, these days, of course, it doesn't work with, unfortunately, the damage that is done with me, it's just done. There's nothing I can do to recover from that. But that being
Hmm.
said, now that I've started, I do counseling sessions, like a side gig. So
Hmm.
that, yeah, I mean, a lot of times you do have this thing where you do have people coming up to you and with concerns, which, of course, this is something that a lot of times I've suggested parents and, sometimes even teenagers as well. So yes, it's quite
Nice.
beneficial that way.
Nice. That's very nice that you are trying to see what you wanted to happen in the people that you're counseling to. So that's very nice. You're living your life through others. Great to know that, Freda. Yes, Amita.
So basically, it is very important to sensitize parents about this.
Very
That
true.
that
Yes.
listening to the child is extremely important, as you also pointed out earlier in one of your points.
Yeah.
So basically, at any age, if the child wants to come and talk to you, it is very important that you leave whatever you're doing aside and give him that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, because
Yes.
because that is the most important time period when the child is actually going to talk to you. If you say, okay, come back to me after 5 minutes, then the intensity or the fizz out of whatever the child wanted to tell you is gone. And it is true with a 5-year-old, it is true with a 20-year-old as well. You know,
Very
so
true. It's
so at any age, it is very important to have particular point of time, whenever possible, I think we should leave everything else aside for 5-10 minutes and just focus on what they are trying to say.
yes, totally, Amita. Because be it a child or an adult, the child is actually asking for time. The child in us is asking time from the other person where we feel that we would get comfort from. So it it is essential that we just keep it aside and then address it and then move on. So there is that feeling that there is that confidence starts building, and once the confidence builds that I can get comfort and I can talk to somebody, and especially it this is an experience that I have most of the time where I just want things to get solved. So I start giving solutions. And then, like my daughter, she says, Ma, I just want you to listen. I'm just venting out, she says. So then I say, okay, fine. And I get back and I just start listening to her and not give any solutions. So this is something that we need to follow. And to conclude, I would like to say that families rarely break suddenly. It happens slowly and gradually if it is not manned or attended. So, can we look at the next slide, Insia? So, here families rarely break suddenly and they drift slowly, one postponed conversation at a time. So if there is one postponed conversation that you just postpone a conversation, then there is a distance that starts building, and then you start thinking so many other things. Or even if there is a distraction, if there is a distracted dinner at a time, or even if you say somebody that they want to tell something very important and you say, I'm busy, it's done. So, emotional stranger under one roof. This is what we become, emotional strangers. We get disconnected and then each one gets into our own shell and we start thinking, and then it's gone. So connection doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes it starts with tell me what's really going on. When you don't even have to hold the palm of the any person who's actually wanting to talk to you. You just have to sit down next to them, and that can comfort the entire uh, scene, I would say. So with this, I would like to conclude this conversation or whatever we were trying to discuss. If there's anything that you people want to add, you can go on. You're welcome to do so. Yes, Pushpa. Yes, Radhika.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share something. When this one postponed conversation that you've put, Sheila, I feel as adults, okay, when we are uncomfortable with a relationship, okay, it might be somebody very close, it might be somebody, I mean, people, if we are distant to people, I think there is some disturbance coming from your side, Sheila. My voice is getting echoed. Yeah. So I personally feel that when it might be somebody close to us, it has to be somebody close to us, because if they are distant, we are not bothered whether we are connected with them or not. But especially with people who are close to us, I always feel that As adults, we give ourselves hundreds of reasons not to talk to them. We are either tired, we are either busy, we are either, he or she did not talk to us, so why should I? And I already picked up the phone and tried 10 times, but there has been no response from the other side, so why should I? So there is a lot of ego which comes into play. There is a lot of hurt. Mostly it is hurt that comes into play when it comes to actually picking up the phone and talking to the opposite person. So, here I personally feel like the reason why I started communication, or why this entire mental well being from corporate to students is going on, is that we somehow need to overcome that uncomfortableness. It's hard, it's very difficult. Mentally we need to really make up, saying that you don't like speaking to the opposite person. Okay, and then you're also scared that you might get hurt even more, you know so that is what.
Very true. Very true.
So this is something which I did personally with somebody. I cannot obviously name the person on public podium. So somebody very close, and it was as if I was talking to a brick wall for months. Trust me when I'm saying this. Okay, for months, because the relationship was so damaged by then for different reasons. I just kept on going at it. The other person might have got irritated at a certain point, but I kept on going at it. And then I started talking to other members in the family related to her. And it so happened that now that at least once in 15 days, we are able to have an amicable conversation, at least for about 10 to 15 minutes, which was zero before. So, when we actually want to communicate with a person that we actually are not gelling with, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of mastering your hurt. Because at the end of the day, I personally feel that we are living in such a we have such a short lifespan that I've come to a phase wherein the gila shikwa I feel is like totally useless, and we actually can make something better out of it.
Very true. Totally,
It's
totally
I've
relate.
done this. It's not something that it's something that I'm preaching about or talking about. I have done this. It has taken a lot of mental toll on me, but now it is good. So it is worth it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, because again, when you have brought out this, I would like to say something is that even I have gone through personally, and I've come to a stage now that I want it, so I'm going to do it. It's not ego, it's not that person didn't call, that person didn't speak, they didn't take the initiative. It is I want it because of my mental peace, I'm going to do it. Or just let go. These are the only things that we can do, and this is possible with adults. But when it comes to children, it has to be dealt in a different way. So, yes, over to you, India.
One small thing. Frida, you have anything to add to this?
Yes, so thanks, Radhika. So, the only thing I'd like to add is, what you said kind of resonated a lot with me because, well, with me, the deficit was at my end back then, and till date, I continue to keep trying. And like how Sheila said, I'm doing it for myself because at the end of the day, I don't want to live with, I mean, I don't want to, like kick the bucket with, with that regret that, oh, that didn't work out. So no matter how cold the situation might be, or not really, that not really as responsive as I want it to be, yet, yes, I keep trying every time. without an expectation. So yeah, if God wishes, maybe someday I could bridge that. But yes, at
Yes.
least I don't have to live with regret, or rather kick the bucket with regret.
So, so true.
Would you like to add anything to this, Amita?
So, just one point I will make here. You talked about hurt. Okay, so it is a lot about prioritization, because if somebody is, sometimes it happens because we have seen it in some of these movies as well, that two individuals are conversing with each other. One of them gets a phone call, which apparently is important, and then however serious the conversation is, it just gets cut over there because this person wants to attend a phone call. That is where the hurt comes, because here the other person is there trying to make a very serious conversation, or making a serious point, and the other person feels that something else is more important than what he or she is trying to say. That is one place where the hurt is going to come, and which is going to again have a long term impact. When we say that the emotional distance doesn't happen overnight, such instances are responsible to quite an extent when you do not prioritize what is really important at that point of time, or you don't feel that this conversation that you're having is important.
Absolutely.
May I add something to this? Um, yeah, Amita, when firstly, what we see in movies is sometime what happens is when the other person has got a call and they have to answer that call, let us give them that space and time. That's what I would, if it was me, I would just let them take that time, but then they need to get back. If it is just stopped there, then it's the conversation has ended there, then it leaves you in a lot of hurt. But if that person comes back and then the conversation continues, then it really helps. Okay. And for that, we who are waiting for that person to come back after the call have to be patient and have to be calm to continue the conversation. So that is something that,
Not every time, though. It's like,
yeah,
once or twice, maybe it's okay. But if the person is doing it again and again, then yeah, it does not make sense. The
Right.
person on the call,
yes,
I mean.
Yeah, if it is a
yeah,
repeated action that keeps happening frequently, that is where the hurt comes into the picture. If it is a one-off thing, then nobody is going to mind it. But when it becomes a regular feature that okay, this call is more important to me than what you're trying to tell me, then that is where it is going to be that okay, fine, so I'm not important to you.
Yeah, agreed. Sujata, do
yeah.
you have anything to add to this?
No, I just want to say one thing, like in terms of teenagers, how to get more connected with. And with my example, I have a niece. She's in 12th standard, and she is quite introvert. But again, she needs to be sometimes, open up. So yeah, I think with teenagers, agers, when we go into their world, we show interest, the way they feel, the way they think, or the terms they use. If we show interest to that, they start opening up instead of imposing our thoughts, our way of thinking on the. Let's get into the world of the teenagers. Then they will open up, and then they will start sharing the things with us, and it creates a good bond. As per my experience, what I have experienced. So I was just thinking about that, so I wanted to share. I didn't want to miss out. Thanks, Radhika, for giving me this opportunity. So this thing
Great.
was, yeah,
Sujata, because you're saying teenagers, I have a very
yeah.
disturbing thing that is coming
Hmm.
up again and again, because I go to a lot of colleges and I have a lot of candid conversations
Okay,
with students, and
okay,
and uh, this I actually not from a college, but I got it from trainees, new trainees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there was this discussion, and suddenly it was just off record and everything. And
Okay.
they were like, these days they are connecting. I'm like, don't you want to connect emotionally with your parents? And they're like, they won't understand, Radhika.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
easier. I mean, if I am in an emotion, that's what she told me. If I am in an
Mm-hmm.
emotional problem, I just ask Chat GPT. I ask AI,
Yeah.
and they,
Yeah.
and they give me the perfect. It gives me the perfect answer. So I don't need the feel, and what I don't need, I don't feel to get
Yeah.
emotionally connected with my parents when
Oh,
a problem
exactly.
crops up.
Actually, yes, it's
And
happening.
I was like, okay, this is what is happening now. I have to actually think about this.
They have got so many resources, no? For emotional need, also they go to the Chat GPT. And the same niece, same niece, she was asking Chat GPT, what could be the best possible dish to be made by my lazy mom?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so funny. We started laughing like anything, and her mom was so angry that you think I am so lazy. I can't make good things for you. But yes, she was like that. Whatever it is for her. So yes, emotional connect is really missing.
Yeah. So, what would be all of you over here from today's conversation? What would be the takeaway? I am very interested. Sheila, may I ask them?
Yes, yes. I'm waiting for it to.
Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of patience. So, um,
So Radhika, you can tell the number, tell the name, who is going to be first sharing the feedback.
okay, Amita.
Amita has. Yes, Amita.
So basically, the takeaway from today's discussion is that in the emotional distance between the family members is an issue everywhere. It is not just limited to your family or my family. It is everywhere, and we need to think from a very different perspective, maybe as a third person perspective, to be able to really understand and see what could be going wrong where, or what the disconnect could be. Because when we are in our role as a member of the family or an employee in an organization, we are looking from our perspective, and we are not looking at the big picture. If we are looking at the scenario as a third person, I think we will be in a better position to understand what the missing link is.
Absolutely. Being in the
Absolutely.
other person's shoes.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amita. Frida? Okay. Before Frida gets back, Sujata?
Yes, from this session, my takeaways are like we need to fill this gap, emotional gap. It's very much needed and it's really important. So the suggestions which has been shared with all of us and Sheila, we need to work on that. It's really important. So we need to take it very sincerely.
Yeah.
Thank
Frida?
you. Thank you, Sujata.
Radhika,
Yes.
Uh,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
We were
should
talking
I?
about takeaways.
Yes, sorry, I'm really sorry about that. My takeaway is see, honestly, this conversation is something each one of us at some point or the other faces and experiences in our lives. And it's quite, I mean, the pointers that, Sheila discussed on and the takeaway the suggestions also that came up with this the way that probably it needs to be looked at and how we can use this in our daily interactions as well and what we should or should not do and how we can repair. I mean, trust me, I felt it is quite, was very enriching as an as as pointers. I found it very enriching, and I'm definitely going to be using this as well.
Thank you. More than anything, just talking about it, I guess, puts all of us at ease. And it also helps us in a way that, we're not the only ones. That's the biggest thing. Everyone is in the same boat. Insia,
Yes.
any feedback from your end, please? What is your takeaway?
Um, yes, ma'am. So, as we discussed, we as teenagers need to be more vigilant, and we should look um, up to our parents and see what's going on inside them. They might not voice out what they are feeling. Sometimes they keep silent, or they are just doing the housework, or my mother is in the kitchen, my father is with his phone. Maybe they are both in different rooms. Maybe something is going on in their mind and they are not voicing it out. We need to figure it out. We need to observe what they are feeling and just ask a simple question. How was your day? Is everything okay? And I think that is a conversation starter. I do this every day at night with my father, grandfather, mother. And after the long day, they tell me everything what happened at work, what were problems they faced, and what they did. And some funny stories also come up from my grandfather. Yes.
Wonderful. So it's the other side of the coin.
That's so sweet, so sweet.
Thank you.
Love,
Thank you so
love
much.
listening to you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Radhika. And yeah, over to you, Radhika.
Yes, dear participants, we have a couple of polls before you leave. Please participate in them. And ma'am, please maybe have the link in the chat.
What do you do? Do you like exercising, or do you say later?
Uh, I'm probably one of the most laid back person when it comes to exercise. I genuinely mentally, I mean, more than physically, I mentally need to take efforts first to get myself to starting the task when it comes to exercise. Of course, once I get into it, then yeah, I mean, I work, I definitely do that.
Great. All right. So we move on to the next one.
Yes.
The one. So what are you thinking about? I mean, if you have to message somebody today after this, whom would you like to message? Who are you thinking about messaging right now? After this, so you just have to make up for something and you want to message somebody instantly after this session. Whom would it be? Who are you thinking about in the message?
Ma'am, the poll is not showing.
You
Maybe
can't
put it
see it?
on presentation mode.
Okay, I'll just stop sharing and start sharing again. Now, is it visible now?
For me, it's my father.
You can just type.
Okay.
Okay, let me just share the link. You can click on the same link again. Share the link and you can type it there. Response. Uncle. Oh, great. All right. Type that also. You can type that also, Freda, if you want to.
How do you type on that? I mean, I've been typing it on chat actually.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so thank you so much for those responses. Over to you, Insia. And stop
Thank you.
sharing.
Yes, sure. And I just want to say tonight was not about communication skills, it was about emotional availability. And if today's conversation made you uncomfortable, good, because discomfort often shows us what we have stopped noticing. And before sleeping tonight, don't just ask someone at home, did you eat? Ask, how are you really? What have you been up to? Is everything going okay? And with that, thank you everyone for being honest, present, and open tonight. This was another bold conversation by Atulith. Thank you, Sheila ma'am, for those practical conversation starters. And a huge thank you to everyone who spent part of their busy day with us today. And as promised, we are sending over a takeaway. While you're here, to click the Atulith Academy links and mark your calendars for May 30th for our next board conversation. We are sending over the registration details very shortly. With that, thank you all and have a brilliant day.
Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
being
you so
so
much.
interactive.
Thank you.